Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to a special edition of QuickBooks Labs. This is QuickBooks Labs, where we're actually live at QuickBooks Get Connected 2024 in Woolwich, which I believe is going to be the start of a roadshow. But we haven't been told that yet, but we believe it's going to be. And we're going to tell you straight away what we've been told today, what new features have been announced, what we can get all excited about. And then we'll probably cover at the end some of the changes have happened in QuickBooks lately that we might want to cover. Before we go any further, though, let's do an introduction, everyone. My name's Patrick. I am the QuickBooks chap, and to the left of me is...
Oh, my name's Johan. I am co-host with Mr. Patrick on Ask the Accountant, member of the QuickBooks Accounting Council, and I operate the On Point Accounting Group. And to my left is...
Hi, I'm Simon Woodhams. I am the Software Advisory Manager at Wilkins & Smith and also sit on the QuickBooks Accounting Council. To my left is the esteemed...
Well, I'm esteemed. I'm Charlie Khan, and there's a theme here because I'm also on the Accountants Council, so it's a little dull here. And I have a small firm of accountants in West London. And to my left,
hey, I'm Tom Herbert. I'm the technology editor for Accounting Web. Sadly, I'm not on the QuickBooks Accountants Council, but I write about all things accounting technology for our beloved readers.
And it is a bucket list to actually have Tom on our podcast. So thank you very much for coming along.
That's a pleasure.
Let's talk about this very stage. So this stage here is, what's the date today? It's the 27th of February, 2024. And today was the day that we had Get Connected. And normally at these events, we get a raft of all these brand new product announcements. We get all excited. We did say we weren't expecting as many announcements today, with it not being a full-blown Connect, QBO Connect. Let's go through the room. What's everyone's general feeling? Before going to particular, I've got a list of what we're going to go through, but what was your mood from announcements today? If we did a scale of 1 to 10, last year was a solid 10. What would you call this year?
So I think this year has been it's up there, it's about an 8. Like, it's a reaffirming what's been done, reaffirming what's coming up, which if you've already been on the roadshows recently, you kind of knew what was coming up. But just reconfirming that they're going in the right direction and that this is all coming from feedback from us as members of QuickBooks user groups. And I think that's really key. They're really hammering that home here. We're here to listen to you. We're here for feedback. We want your feedback. Don't hold back. Tell us everything, because we can't improve if we don't hear from you.
Would I say it's an 8? I think it depends on where your firm sits. I think from the improvements or what they've said about today is a lot of it's really, really great and would be, if you're a QuickBooks only practice, then I'd say, yeah, today's an 8 or 9, maybe a 10, because it's improving those bits that you don't have to leave QuickBooks again to do extra bits. If you're a firm that uses all software, some of the bits that are released today don't really affect what we are going to do and what we're going to do in the future. So I'd say it's like a 5, maybe, from my point of view as a larger firm.
Okay.
Yeah, I broadly agree with you guys. I mean, I think it's been a consolidation of what they've been talking about over the last few months. I was on a couple of the roadshows, or one of the roadshows earlier or late last year. The two big things, I guess, for me, is they're finally launching what they were talking about last year and were beta testing, is their Bureau Payroll, which uses QuickBooks Payroll Advanced, which has been around for a few years, but adds a lot of features that you would want as an accountant running a payroll bureau. And importantly, I was shocked at their pricing. It's incredibly cheap, I have to say. I probably shouldn't say that, or they put the prices up. But it is staggeringly cheap. And the other thing that I was learning about today that I like was, one of my pet hates has been what they were doing with receipt capture in product. And what I've seen now is they've dramatically improved that. So those are the two, I guess, takeaways for me.
Yeah, I'd say it's a good solid 7. I think last year was very much, it was a blizzard of announcements, wasn't there? It was just like, okay, we got Bureau Payroll and we got Practice Manager and we've got the working papers. It was, whoa. And I mean, obviously there was a reasonable amount of ground to make up after things had gone a bit quiet, but it was moving at pace. It was like, oh, hold on a minute, in this era of cloud where things are supposed to happen iteratively and slowly, this was a blitz of announcements. But I think for those of us who've been around a fair bit, announcements can sometimes slip, they fall off the radar. And so actually what's been really positive this time around is that they've come back to everything that was announced. And practice manager, they're talking about phase 2. They're backing up FRS 105 with FRS 102 on the sort of ProTech side of things. So that's good. It's sort of reiterating and reaffirming what they're up to, which I think gives people some solace and confidence in the product ahead, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think for me, it's a 7.5. At the end of the day, we've already said we couldn't have beat last year. Last year was a once in a blue moon. Maybe it'll never get kind of that sort of announcements come through again. But I think this one was, what the confidence for me was the fact that each one of the products that was announced this time last year has moved up, progress in each one of those there. And I think that's the takeaway for me. It's okay, there's nothing there that blows my mind. And we've already said we're all on the Accounting Council. We know there's stuff coming and we know there's stuff that's really exciting about, and we can't wait to talk about it. But we're going to go from there. So let's just talk about some of the stuff that was announced. So to the 210 people here. So it's a big event. Like, there's been a lot of people here. Well attended. Everyone
I would
seems
argue that was potentially more people than at the big QuickBooks Connected event, was it? I don't know what the attendance was last in London,
feels it, doesn't it?
but it felt like there was a lot more staff members to visitors last year.
Yes, but then they restricted the number of app people here.
That's
true. Yeah.
Whereas before you might have had an army of
Yeah.
Next or etc.
Yeah,
There's a
Dex
lot
would have
few
sent 25 different
1,000
staff
people.
members. Yeah.
Well, but they've restricted that to like 2 or 3 per stand, and I think there's a lot more QuickBooks people that they can talk to.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was literally loads, and that's probably where it's looked
Yep,
like there was lots
fair
of
enough.
people potentially.
Yeah. I mean, they started off with QuickBooks Intuit, which we all have
Intuit
talked about.
Assist.
Intuit Assist, we've all talked about. We're just wanting to know the details of it. They've teased us. They keep showing it us. I suppose they never mentioned it last year, so it's kind of new for this year, right? In terms of the major event. But we just want to know. We just want to get play. We want to play with that, right?
I think you and I said before today started, like we said last night, it's like, what are we expecting? What are they going to announce? And I said, like, if they announce nothing else, if they just walk into a room and go, Intuit Assist, going live, October 2024, mic drop. Sage 0, what you're going to do? Like, they'll be miles behind. Like that's all they had to do. Now they didn't do that, but they reaffirmed its progress. And I think QuickBooks have learned it from the past years where like QuickBooks Bank was announced.
Yep.
And then disappeared. After we all got so excited, we told all our clients about it. This is going to be amazing, and it just disappeared. So I think they've learned
I think
well.
they've learned a lot from the big event. Even like I know we mentioned it earlier. They obviously last year's big event. They said this is what we're doing, and they've learned from previous ones going this is what we're doing, and then they're doing nothing.
Yep.
To go, this is what we're done, and this is how we're still doing bits towards it. And I think that's the same with this.
Reaffirming it, yeah.
It's reaffirming. Actually, there was more this year on that AI side of how it's not just their AI. It's more about generative AI. And it's not just going to kill off the accountants that are all sitting here going, oh my God, AI is going to kill us. It was saying, actually, you're going to help us improve that AI that will then, in turn, there's lots more on that side of the AI side.
And they need to get that message out there, don't they? Because there's BDMs out there who are scared trying to get new work for QuickBooks. They're scared that Intuit AI is going to be negatively received. I mean, is there any negativity there? I think they did it pretty well in terms of trying to get around it.
I think that for those who take an interest in that kind of thing, then I don't think there is any fear at all. I think everyone's quite excited, like yourselves, to get down and dirty with the tools and actually, properly kick the tires on it. I think at the other end, I don't even think it's registered. If I'm being honest, there's a lot, there's a lot of ChatGPT sort of hype around, but they probably haven't even done that. And so actually there might be a small sliver in between who are a bit sort of terrified about it all, but in that kind of vague way that that a lot of other things in the back of your mind. I don't think it's really registered that much, to be honest.
I think what's interesting about the audience demographic here, though, is during the keynote, Nick Williams said, put your hands up if you're using ChatGPT in your work in any form. there was a lot more hands up in that audience than I was expecting.
Agreed.
Whether they're using it just for writing a blog once every now and then, or they're powerhousing it, the fact that that many hands went up where, yeah, I know what it is and I'm using it in some form, I felt that was a very forward-thinking demographic of the accounting and bookkeeping industry, which perhaps we don't always see at events. So
I think what's important, I mean, this is not new to anybody, I suspect, is that AI is undoubtedly going to have a massive impact over the next few years, an absolutely massive impact. So it's critical that if you are a forward-thinking practice, accounting practice, that you need to be working out how it will work for you, for your practice, and for your clients. So if you are a QuickBooks-based practice, and you can see that QuickBooks are at the forefront of implementing AI, and they've already launched it in the States to some extent. And as you know, as you were just saying, it's going to be launched here once they bedded it in and know that it's how it's working properly and how accountants want to use it, and how clients want to use it as well. I think by being a QuickBooks practice and knowing that QuickBooks are at the forefront of this, you're going to be in at the early stages, knowing how to use AI and not get left behind. Because I think if you are not cresting the wave, but you're running with the with the wave of the, you will reap the benefits. If you're stuck behind, trying to catch up on everybody,
if you're
surfing the wave, great, you're going to do brilliantly.
It's the same.
But if you,
it's the same wave that when cloud accounting came the thing.
Absolutely,
It's that same thing of if you weren't.
I think it's bigger than cloud, but you're absolutely right. But I think it will do that times 5, times 10.
Or OCR technology. Like OCR came along, every bookkeeper was redundant apparently. I would argue there's more now than there ever has been, and
it's the same story. It's the same story being said about the different things that happened in our industry.
Yeah.
Oh, cloud accounting, right? That's the death of Sage Desktop. It's not, because Sage Desktop still exists. It has its
rightly
place.
or wrongly.
Yeah, rightly or wrongly, at least in some people's opinions. Rightly, in my case, because I still see features it has that others don't.
Yeah.
Then so is that, and then it was, OCR is going to kill the bookkeepers. Hasn't. It's created more.
Yeah.
Now it's AI is going to kill accountants. No, it's not. It's there to help. And that's where Intuit Assist is that it's there to get that data and gather that data and help you streamline what you're doing with that data.
I was chatting to one of the BDMs from QuickBooks last night in the hotel, and he was saying, there's a few accountants and bookkeepers he's spoken to that are really worried about Intuit Assist because it's doing more of my job for me directly with the client. Like the client's going to be able to ask it, what's my profit and loss? I was like, yeah, but surely that accountant would rather them ask Intuit Assist and get the same answer so that the accountant can spend more time with the client in high value areas than wasting that 5 minutes on the phone doing that. I said, like, I have meetings with various clients of mine that aren't necessarily my clients and my team, but I turn up to this meeting and my clients think I'm incredible because this group managing director has just walked in. He's just made several comments about my business and my finances that tell me he is monitoring my business when he's got another 600 clients to monitor. No, I have sat there 10 minutes before the meeting and gone through some reports to work out some conversation starters. You go, January was looking good. You spent a bit more there in December than normal. What's going on there? I spend 10, 15 minutes each time doing that. If I can tell Intuit Assist to do that summary for me and I can read it in 5 minutes, I've saved 5 to 10 minutes for every meeting. Like that's an hour a day back of my time. That's incredible.
What's the phrase that the future is here? It's just unevenly distributed. And I think that if you're looking at the people who are going to be using this stuff in the future, then you mentioned your 600 clients there. When a new tax year rolls around and you've got 600 people to contact, are you going to be doing the old way and sort of chasing them up for information manually, or are you going to be leveraging some of the AI capabilities that are coming out to contact all of them and potentially pick up documents that they haven't sent in and send automated reminders and things like that, and then as you mentioned there, do some of the higher value stuff that you actually want to do rather than doing the donkey work.
Yeah. I think interestingly what was done right. So let's go back through what was announced. So we were told that AI is already in the software, and I think that's a good way of helping people understand it, right?
That's something I've been saying to other, I've been around doing QuickBooks bits and speak to clients and saying, well, AI has been around for, well, forever.
Yeah.
You just didn't know it as AI. It wasn't until ChatGPT came out publicly and everyone went, oh my God. It's like, well, you've been using predictive text and I was talking to someone in government and they were like, oh, we've got this AI board. But I was like, yeah, but I've been using it as OCR. I can go over there, take a photo, and it's done this. That's AI. We've been doing that for 10 years, possibly longer. And it's putting it more in layman's terms and things that people use every day to day that is helping it come across better, I think.
100%. Yeah. So the examples they gave here was the error checker and the income checker and the Learn QB. So Learn QB is a pretty new feature, lets them analyze the bank easier. So that's Intuit AI. We moved on to QuickBooks Practice Manager. I mean, let's be honest, they've got some nice features that are coming through. Really struggling to read it here, but there was add QuickBooks data client easily. Ultimately, what they're trying to do is get to that old process of QuickBooks Practice Manager should be, and will hopefully be, a holistic view of your clients.
Yep.
Feels like they're softly getting there. Have they done enough so far? I mean, you're not allowed to talk about
I'm
this,
not
so
allowed to talk
moving on.
about this, so we'll move on.
I think the fact that it is QuickBooks Practice Manager and they have QuickBooks data and you've got things like the workflows and things like that in there needs to be that deep integration.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of having a workflow for VAT and then you're still having to go and source your VAT return and all it's that sort of stuff I was hoping to see more of. Like, I know it's great they've got different, some of the new features that are in there were needed to be there. So yeah, as I said, they're improving it slowly, but those are the bits that I really want to see. Is I don't want, if I'm doing a task, the whole thing of Practice Manager to have your tasks in there, I don't want to then leave there. I want to source all that data. I don't want a team, right, log out here, go into here, do this. I want everything there. And if you're already owned by QuickBooks and you've got the QuickBooks data behind it, source me that information.
Yeah. And at the moment, I feel like it's gathering the data. It's starting to gather
the business overview.
Yeah.
Great. It's great for, I really applaud the grabbing the business overview and the number of transactions and things like that, 'cause especially where people will be using something like a Go Proposal or Practice Ignition or something to do their quotes based on potentially transaction values or number of transactions.
Yeah.
Being able to source that data quickly, and then maybe in QuickBooks Manager you got, well, we've signed up for 50 transactions a month, and you can see straight away, oh, they're at 3,000.
We can do your billing.
You can have your billing. You can start that conversation directly in product with your client going, oh, by the way, X, Y, and Z. That was quite cool.
Yeah. And I think that's where ultimately, and hopefully it'll get there, that's what it needs to do, right? It needs to, that data not just be presented to us, but then we could trigger that data or something.
Yeah, put some alerts in that says,
exactly,
this is what we've quoted for. This is where they're sitting for each of your, however you break it down.
Yeah.
And then if it goes over by a percentage, it pings off alerts to whoever it may be. Like you might have a sales team or a re-quoting team or the account manager or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. Anyone, Practice Manager?
I guess what I would like to see, if we're on the practice side of things, be a bit like, they launch Bureau Payroll. You can see all your clients' payroll and all the rest of it in one screen. It would be nice, and maybe you can, I've not seen this yet, where if you are a manager in the accounting firm looking at a range of clients, if you can see all your clients, which returns have been done, maybe it shows how much is owed on each of them. So you could maybe, ones with higher than normal amounts, you can maybe think, oh, I better review that one or not review, don't need to review that one, see whether they've been filed and all the rest of it, and have that pull through at a practice level so you can see everything at once. That to me would be leveraging the power of having an inbuilt practice manager within the bookkeeping, within the accounting software.
Yeah.
Adding to that very quickly, and then with Intuit Assist, is if you put that into there, then it can start looking at your client's data and going, well, hang on a minute, this, because something, you always have like trends and troughs. Something when I was an accountant way back when was, you'd look at your VAT return and go, well, I used to do a lot of agricultural clients. You go, well, we always know October harvest, right, it's going to be higher. Is the same October next year the same or similar? And it's starting, you should be able to start looking at things like that and start going, well, this doesn't look right, or based on the industries, etc., etc. So you sort of combine the two things to get there. It's quite even more powerful.
That's why we want to play with it, right? We want to see how much the ecosystem it can see, what it's allowed to look at, because we should have an opportunity to have industry leading if we've got access to all that data. They talked about ProTax, the only update for ProTax. I say only, it's a big one. They're committed to 102 and personal tax. it's a good thing, right? That's the adoption it needs. It needs those extra ones for it to go with it. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've not used the ProTax tool yet. With the announcement made today that it will do 1 and 2, it will do income tax returns, all the rest of it. I'm a lot more interested in seeing that now, because I was less interested if it would only do a small subset of my clients. But if I can move away from my existing tax stuff, because I like the fact that all my tax all my tax clients are in one piece of software. If I can move them all across, then it becomes a much more useful and viable product.
Any more to add on ProTax? I think we've talked about it enough, haven't we, over time? Yeah.
Thoughts from Tom? I mean, from an outsider's point of view, because we've been looking at this for a long time. But yeah,
here's a question for you. Outside looking in, how do you feel the pace of the product has gone? It was announced a year ago, and we're being promised 102 on personal tax, but we don't know when. What outside looking in, how would you feel about it in a pace?
I think it backs up the statements that they've made. There were big commitments made around sort of to tax and I think now they're starting to deliver it. I mean, the fact that it is within the product, you're not going to have to do all the sort of export import dance. The fact that the pricing is within the sort of QuickBooks ecosystem and it isn't a separate chargeable module, that's a huge benefit potentially to a lot of QuickBooks users. So yeah, I mean, the pacing is what it is. I mean, these particularly with FRS 1 and 2, we've seen tax software struggle to build this stuff up.
here's a question for you though. So, practice management, payroll bureau, agnostic. That was the word of choice this morning from Nick, wasn't it? It's going to be agnostic. It's going to be agnostic. Do we think ProTax could become agnostic in the future?
Yeah,
I think it should be.
Yeah.
I think because sitting as a bigger firm is that if you're a smaller firm and you can put everything in one place, it makes it nice and easy. You can have that full workflow of quote, practice management, QuickBooks, ProTax, and Sage is very similar in that you have Go Proposal,
that ecosystem
end to end. When you can start bolting in, like half our clients are on Xero in our outsourcing department. If we want to use QuickBooks Practice Manager as a department, why can't we bolt in all of our Xero clients? Why can't we bolt in the 1 or 2 Sage clients and the 1 NetSuite client? And if we can get that, then it makes it really powerful. Agnostic seems to be the way lots of them are going. Like Sage have done the similar thing.
Yep.
You can bolt random, to certain levels. Obviously, Dex Precision, you can have Sage QuickBooks Xero and other.
Yep.
So I think there's a move to that and less of a this is ours.
Yeah, and the next announcement pulls that straight in because the next announcement was QuickBooks Ledger. It's finally in the UK. We can now talk about it.
Yep.
Now officially a thing. Surely that's agnostic all over again, isn't it? That's what it's designed for. It's, well, if your client's not quite using QuickBooks, maybe they're paper, maybe they're using the solution, then you want to use ProTax. If you want to use all the other great stuff from working papers, we have a solution for you.
I would say for it to be agnostic, it needs to be able to pull the data from Xero, Sage, Free Agent into ProTax.
Is that their responsibility for doing that? Because we've had conversations today about particular partners in here who could do that for us. Do we need QuickBooks to do that for us? Is that really their world?
There's
Like,
also
It's just a connection. It's an API. It's the same thing that TaxCalc, TaxFiler, etc. have all got at the moment. If they go, where are you pulling your TB from? Right, we'll speak to that API and pull that TB for you. Technically, QuickBooks could do that, and
whether Xero would let them is another matter.
I mean, it could be quite the coup. I mean, Xero.
I mean, it's an open API, right?
No,
But it could be.
Xero is an open API. It's certified.
In terms of practice management solution, it's essentially you have one practice management tool that's completely agnostic because you can't run a practice using multiple practice management solutions. That simply doesn't work. When it comes to statutory accounts production and filing tax returns, whether it's income tax or corporation tax returns, I'm not so sure. Historically, yes, I would have wanted it in one product. But if I have a tax and accounts production tool that is embedded within a bookkeeping solution, if my practice chooses to use multiple bookkeeping solutions, I don't see a particular problem in having those tax products linked in with and solely for that bookkeeping solution. It's only if I have a separate tax product that I would want it to be agnostic. So that to me is more crucial. I wouldn't be bothered if it was agnostic, but I don't think that's remotely essential. What I'm far more concerned about as an accountant in practice is that to ensure that the accounts production and the tax is limited to the accountants, so the QBOA users. Yeah. The risk of having clients do that is that they won't understand that far more goes into accounts production and tax returns than simply pushing a button and exporting it, like a VAT return, for example. There's far, far, far more experience required. So that would be my concern.
I guess the only devil's advocate to that is Companies House are taking away that feature for them, aren't they? There's that whole change and they need to use software going forward. So clients are going to need to have software to file it. So maybe that's the reason for it. Before we go on to the next bit, so just last bit on that, I'm definitely on the camp that QuickBooks shouldn't have to build a API link to Xero or any of that and bring the information in. But if they did, wouldn't that cause absolute shockwaves? And Tom, do you want to?
I mean, that's got to have an industry impact, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, everyone would be sort of round the campfire, joining hands and singing.
Yeah, the dream.
But sadly, I think the commercial imperatives make that tricky. I remember last year during conference season, I went round and I speak to people and I say, well, what are you enjoying? What are your bugbears, as it were? And integrations came up time and time again, and I wrote up a piece on integrations and the joy of that one word and the frustration that it brings to people. And yeah, it was one of those that caused it was extremely well read. A nerdy article about accounting software integrations was just beaming around the world. And when an article has landed well, because I got loads of LinkedIn connections, loads of people shouting at me that I was totally wrong, and I was, oh yeah, this is exactly right, and everything in between. So yeah, it's a tricky one. In a perfect world, everything would be all open. And I think it's actually something that the smaller vendors seem to feel a lot more keenly, but they're not able to sort of integrate in the way that they used to be able to with some of the bigger players. So
even on the ones apps that do integrate with Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, etc., even those integrations don't pull in the same data.
No.
Think like Dex Precision.
Yeah.
It could pull data from one that does this bit, but then that same data you want from a different accounting system, it can't do. And it's like, until the same data can be pulled from every system, it's going to be quite hard. So as much as I wanted it, I want to have one practice management system to rule them all. But pulling all that data in, it's going to be difficult to get the right data.
But then who's got the right answer? Like QuickBooks have always been quite restrictive on their APIs. Now Xero are charging for their API. So it's like no one's the right answer, right? But
then you obviously got the likes of Silverfin who do have that connection to all of them, but would Intuit come around and go, well, we're just going to buy Silverfin? I mean, I don't see that happening. I mean, they could if they wanted to, let's be honest, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah. Okay, so final section then was feedback in action, they called it. So these are the features that have been announced. And there was a Whoopometer going throughout today, wasn't there? So on this stage, Nick was saying, which is your favourite, going through all the lists. And it was a very much a case of, the Whoop decided how excited people were. And there were some proper Whoops from here. So just to go through them and then we can get your thoughts on them. Workpaper tabs, that's being all condensed. So I personally... We've had a big debate on that one, but we'll find out if
I won.
Yeah. Chart of accounts templates. So that was a nice feature that everyone loved.
Yep.
Receipt capture. Someone absolutely
Charlie
went mental. We'll talk about that in a minute.
He's learned lots about receipt capture today.
Yeah. And then one navigation view, which, hey, it should have always been like that, let's be honest. So final thoughts on what's in there, feedback. Anyone been listening to the chatter? Is there any chatter around it at the moment of, excitement or anything else? Thoughts and figures on that last bit then. So workpapers tabs, receipt capture, one navigation view, and chart of accounts templates.
I'll go on this one. If like the two for me, receipt capture, as you just mentioned. Receipt capture has been my pet peeve, my pet project for a long time. The fact that they have dramatically improved that, I think is a big thing. It's really, really important they got that right. I was always very disappointed. They got the difficult bits in there, but they're never linked to default nominal codes from suppliers, for example. So that's an advantage. The other one, which I've not seen in practice yet, but that you mentioned, was the saving accounts templates. I mean, I've been at this using QuickBooks for so long, I used QuickBooks Desktop, and one of the things you could do in QuickBooks Desktop was export templates and all sorts of things. And I used to have some standard. This is a template for sole trader with and without VAT, company with and without VAT, and all the rest of it. So the ability to have the chartered accounts to save to use for new companies.
It brings it in line
is
with
massive.
Xero. Yeah, Xero's had those
Have they?
templates
Right.
for as long as it's existed, I think. I mean, either know that one still includes that, but anyway. But it's bringing it up to line there. I mean, that's a nice thing from like our point of view. Would we use it? I don't know, because our businesses are all different and we do lots of imports.
I think the QuickBooks General Ledger is
The general ledger, for the ledger one, we didn't really talk about it too much. I'm going to go back on the ledger.
Go for it.
We talked about it quite a lot.
Mm.
In that, obviously, it's very basic, and it's great if you've got those once a year. You know, the old carrier bag jobs, which I say old, there's still people who carry bag jobs.
100%.
I'm talking about my dad, who has a van and everything's on his dashboard. He's that perfect once a thing. He's primed for that ledger. Like, you don't need to write your supplier ledger and your customer ledger and all that thing. It's those once a time year, and I can see that. And again, that's bringing it into line with what Xero have offered for years.
Can I throw in a counter argument to that?
Okay, yeah.
I think I agree with everything you've just said, but so here's the thing. So some years ago, those sorts of clients would bring us a bag of receipts or dump their bank statements on us or whatever it was they gave us, because they had no ability, unless they wanted to do their own, literally do bookkeeping, to do it themselves. So once a year they dumped it on us, and it was a day or 2 or 3 days worth of work to go through all this stuff and do it. But because now we have bank feeds and all the rest of it, I don't have many clients, if any clients, where I would not want the client to be doing some of that simple stuff themselves, looking at the bank feed in some simple software solution. You know, I've got some clients, for example, who've been using Coconut, which got sold a while ago, but it's still a viable product, and they quite like it. And it's a very simple solution, and they can do 90% of the work without thinking they're doing bookkeeping. They're just giving us information, and that's done 90% of the work for us. So I'm not wholly sold on Ledger, because I'm not quite sure. I think it's a product, possibly, unless I've misunderstood it, at the wrong time for what the industry can do.
I think we're ahead of we were one of the, as we go back to the riding the wave thing.
Yeah.
We rode the wave, and when it happened, I reckon there was a lot of people in this room today, and there always is. You know, we were talking at that apron stand about bank recs in QuickBooks, which was like, well, surely everyone does a bank rec, but this guy had never done one. You know, there's still a lot of people who have that traditional practice of, here's my paper bag, once a year, do my tax return, please, on the 3rd of January. There are still, I would say, I'm not going to put, less than 50% of accountants are where we are. And they're still on that journey of, and for them, this is the first step to get them to that moving up the chain. And the fact you can upgrade from one to the other is
that is crucial. The fact that it's in the same ecosystem is important.
I'm in agreement with you, Simon, because a lot of those people out there that have got that are looking at General Ledger are now sat there going, I mean, we've not been given pricing yet, but I'm going to say it's going to be in line with QuickBooks Xero Ledger, like £1, £2, £3 a month, right?
It's not that in the US, but carry on.
Those people out there that have got these carrier bags coming in are sat going, I charge £200 for this bag of bookkeeping and a tax return. How can I justify £150 for a QuickBooks license a year on top of that? And now they can go, I charge £200 a year for this bag of receipts and bookkeeping and tax return. Do I take the hit of £12, you know, £24, £36 a year for efficiency on my part, so I can fit a few more of those jobs in? Now, pricing of those jobs, right or wrong, though, that's a whole different matter. But a lot of people were like, I can't justify cloud software because it doubles, triples, quadruples my fee for the client, or the client's investment in that facility of their business. Whereas now, that's a non-argument.
We used to do it all the time. You get a tax year end or something, when I used to do them, you'd send the bank statements in. What would you do? At the time, it was shove them into auto entry, scan them in, dump into QuickBooks, and have a QuickBooks license for a month.
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah.
Like, we were doing it already, just we were having to pay for an auto entry and a QuickBooks license.
And you're not going to like this answer, but you've already got a SKU for those type of clients, and that's QuickBooks Self-Employed.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? There's
Exactly, it's
all
the ones
Yeah, but
that-
I would like to see QuickBooks Self-Employed brought
Better,
into the
yeah,
ecosystem.
yeah.
So, because yes, I mean, I
but I'm saying
Coke,
that you
I
have
mentioned
the
coconut before.
yeah.
I'd like QuickBooks to have a coconut-like product.
Definitely, yeah.
Because to me, that's the sweet spot. I fully understand and agree with what you say. For a lot of accountants out there, they will have clients that do that, and this is a brilliant product for them. I don't have clients that dump paper bags or plastic bags on me once a year. It's giving me access to the bank or sending me a spreadsheet, or whatever.
Or
I'd like
clients
to
on a
that.
different solution like Xero. That's where I see the
Or
benefit.
even I was talking to someone else earlier, was actually around where I live in Kent. If I go to my parents who live on the marsh, their internet speed is less than 1 megasecond. You know, that's the fastest they can get. They can barely load an internet page.
Yeah.
Let alone load up QuickBooks and start scanning receipts and stuff in. They have to have someone to do it for them, or they drive to my house and they do it. But you know, it's madness. But that would fit the whole page.
100%.
Everyone doesn't have the internet. Everyone doesn't have high-speed broadband still.
Yeah. Having lived in rural Perthshire for several years,
exactly.
1 megabit I can relate.
Yeah.
Half a megabit on a good day at times.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
I think with the Ledger product, I think the dreaded 3-letter that accountants are all looking forward to in 2026, MTD, and there's definitely half a mind on that. I mean, I know they have had several HMRC bigwigs in various fireside chats recently, so I think that you know, there does seem to be a reasonable amount of back and forth between the software industry and HMRC now. From the sounds of it, from the conversations I've had with people in the potential future government, it doesn't sound like MTD is going to be canned anytime soon. So yeah, I think it's half an eye on that as well, I guess.
100%. All right, we suppose we need to wrap up because we've got to get ourselves ready for the rest of the day. Let's do final remarks then. Personally, I think we've had a really, really positive reception. There's been a lot of good questions. We've been quite privileged, haven't we? Yeah, and we've been on the tips and tricks area. So we've got kind of forefront of people asking questions. A lot of people are asking about working papers. A lot of people wanting to know about how pro tax are going to work. So they seem to be the conversations that bring in reports. Yeah. A lot of people were talking about the QB desktop and how it's moved on from there. So what's everyone's thoughts then? Shall we, Tom, do you want to start your end and we work out backwards? Final remarks of the day? Go for it.
Yeah, very positive. Obviously, the FRS 102 and personal tax commitments will be what makes the headlines, but medium to long term, artificial intelligence will probably rule the day.
Yes, I think the artificial intelligence Intuit Assist is probably the big thing for over the next couple of years. Given this has already launched in the States, that's probably the big thing. And it's been a very, very good, as these events tend to be. It's been an excellent session, and QuickBooks has done a great job in keeping us up to date and improving on products that were sort of in early stages last year.
Yeah, I think it's those continuous improvements to the thing. And actually, I'd just like to say it's been pretty chill. Like it's not been in your face like QuickBooks. Like it's not been like walk through the door, everything's green. It's not been like that, I don't think, which is quite nice. You go to some events and it's like shouting and ramming it down your throats, and this hasn't been like that. Whether it's because it's a smaller event or that's just the new way of doing it, it's been really refreshing. You know, I've had good chats with the app people here. Funnily enough, ended up on your stand answering questions as well, you know, as you do. So I've joined the experts as well. But yeah, I think, as I said, it's the continuous improvements. The AI bit, I think, is key for what we do or my practice do and what I want to do. So seeing more around that and how that develops over the next 6-12 months would be key.
Yeah, I think it's the reaffirming of everything what we've seen over the last year, and right, here's the next steps, which tells you, right, they're not just drawing a line under it. We released it last year, that's it, we've moved on to something else. We are continuously developing. I think they've learned a lot of lessons in the last few years from the point of view of continuous development, continuously listening and reminding us they're listening and they are actioning our feedback. Yeah, I think they've done, as you said, it's been a very chilled out event. I think this has been a really nice start to what is now the start of the accounting and bookkeeping conference season. Like from here, in 2 weeks' time, we're at Fab. From there, we've got Digital Accountancy Show. From there, we've got Accountex. Then we're in June. Like, where's that year gone? So
Well, there's more than that as well. So
and
yeah,
there's even more. You know, like July we've got ZeroCon.
Oh, I think next week got alternative finance as well.
Alternative Finance 2020 Spring Conference followed by their. There's just so much in the diary these days. I think this has just been a really nice
lead into it.
Yeah, like welcome out of hibernation. Let's get ready
It
for
was
this.
sleepy. It wasn't sleepy, but it was. Yeah, I quite. It was chill.
I agree. It's been a great event and made even better by you wonderful people coming along here and talking to us on QuickBooks Labs. So it's been a bucket list moment to have Tom on here, and we've got our normal panel here, and we'll be back next month where we're going to definitely have to talk about the features that are being removed. So it might be a bit more of a negative podcast next one.
But we've got removed, but there's good things coming.
There's going to be conversations to be had, put it that way. So thank you everyone for watching, subscribing, listening, all that sort of stuff. And remember, if you want any more tips and tricks on the world of QuickBooks, you're already in the right place. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
As an accountant, I've got something to say. I'd like to introduce you to a whole new way to help small business clients. It's easy as 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. QuickBooks Online. Accounting you can customize. Just sit back and relax. It works with over 300 apps. It can sync up with
Client Engager,
PayPal or
NetTracker,
Shopify, and with
Gold
Cloud,
Cardless,
you
get paid
can
easily.
analyze. With
Cresco,
FundBox, you'll get paid instantly.
Swoop,
Stitch Labs tracks your
funding options.
QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online can save money and time.
QuickBooks Labs.